This right here is an EMC Salon X200. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's a rack server. You can get them pretty cheap on eBay. It's dual 1366, but that's not too exciting. The exciting thing is you can get them cheap and they come with drives. So it comes with a couple of these 200 gig SAS SSDs and mostly full of 2 TB hard drives. 10 of them to be precise. One isn't showing up, probably dead. I don't really care though. It's still pretty darn good of a deal. The one issue is this thing is incredibly loud. So if I fire this guy up right now, you're going to hear it. And there's a total of 5 fans in it, 2 of which are in the power supplies, which you can hear right now. Really not bad. The bad ones are the main cooling ones. So I'm going to push the front power button, and there goes the main fans. Those guys are pretty darn loud. That's what I want to silence. So let's take it off and take a look at what's making the noise inside and what we can do about it. So here's the interior of the server. We could see the power supplies are here. They have their own fans. They're pretty quiet. We're not going to touch those. These are the loud guys. So these are actually hot swap fans, so you can just yank them out. These are SAN-A 60mm fans. They are 12 volts, 1.5 amps. So these are pretty high power fans and they're loud. So looking at it, how are we going to silence this? So there's a couple ways to do it. First thing is software fan controls. So this system has an off-the-shelf Supermicro 1366 motherboard, which has fan control. Problem is it's not using the fan controller ports on the motherboard. EMC has added their own custom board here, which has a SAS expander and a few control things for like the front boards and their batteries for power loss protection and a few other little goodies in it. The problem is that doesn't let you control the fan speed, and they don't really go down either. So I can't do it in software. Or I don't know exactly how to do it, and I'm not going to mess with software. It's easier for me to do this in hardware. So I could replace the fans, but then I'd have to go out and buy 4 more fans and solder them in. Or I can just make these guys spin slower. When it comes to making it spin slower, there's a couple ways to do it. So first is to plug the voltage into a lower voltage rail. I could probably tap off, I think this is a 5 volt rail going to these SSDs here, or one of the main 5 volt rails going into the 24 pin, or I can resistor these fans. So if you put around a 60 ohm resistor in, so around 60 is fine. You do have to guess. You do have to do enough guessing and checking though. They'll spin quite a bit slower and be quite tolerable fan levels. I've done this already to my 2950 and it works fine. So a couple things to note before doing that is you want to check to make sure it actually won't complain. Because a lot of times it'll need to have some software thing that makes the fans have to spin at least 2000 RPM, otherwise it'll complain and just won't post. I don't care if it gives an error because, you know, I don't care. But I do compare if it complain if it won't post. So we're going to find out now if it won't post because we're going to take out all these fans, we're going to plug it into a monitor and see if it tries to load an OS. So I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds like the system is starting because I can hear all the hard drives in here seeking and I can definitely feel them spinning. If I look here, there's little LEDs for fan fault on, and I just heard the sound of my CRT lighting up, telling me that it's probably started to boot. Now the question is, will it actually attempt to post? So this is the standard post screen. It takes a while because it has to initialize the IMPI module. And then once that's done, it's actually going to start to post. So we're going to give it a minute and we'll see if it actually attempts to load an OS. I don't think there's an OS on here, but we'll find out what it does. So now it says some loader for something. I don't know exactly what it's doing. It might be loading an OS. I don't know what these drives have had on them. But it's running just fine. So that tells me that these fans don't matter at all. Yeah, it has the fan fault, but I don't care. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these fans and we're going to go resistor mod them. So I'm going to kind of estimate this level in my mind, which is the hard drive level, and that's about as loud as I want these fans to be. Thermals wise, I mean, I want them to spin as fast as I can before I complain about the noise, but this is an L5630 in it. This is like a 30 watt TDP chip. It's not even that warm, and it's been running passively for like 5 minutes now. RAM doesn't matter. This chip makes a bit of heat. It's definitely warm. This is a SAS expander. These really don't make much heat. And so that's really the only thing I'm worried about. The other thing I'm worried about is hard drives. Normally you can run them passively, but when they're this dense, you really can't. So I'm going to have to make sure there's just enough air, which really isn't much. So we're going to see how slow I can get away with spinning these. Let's go to electronics bench and start messing around with fan speeds. So now I got this fan running on my test bench. One of the leads is plugged in with the jumper lead into this connector. I cut the positive lead because you're going to have to do that anyways to get it to work. And we're running it at 12 volts, and it's pretty darn loud and moving a lot of air. So now we're going to just try resistors. Excuse my messy desk, but essentially I've made a little test setup so that all the power who goes to this motor using jumper cables has to go through this resistor. I just decided to start with a 130 ohm resistor here, and we're just going to take it, plug it in, and it's barely budging, which means it's not getting enough power. So we're going to try another one. So now I tried an 82 ohm, and I don't know if you can hear it, but that's kind of some weird noise I'm getting. I've noticed you do often get weird noises when using high power fans like these at super low outputs, like these high resistors. But it's pushing enough air, and this is okay. So this is like a little bit less air than I'd like, but it's tolerable. So 82 is in the possible ohm range. We're going to try 60 now. And this here is a 51 ohm resistor. It's blowing a pretty considerable amount of air. It's pretty darn quiet, but I'm in a loud environment here. So I'm going to just go solder this guy in, and then we're going to put just this one in the server and see if the noise is tolerable. And then if this one's good, we're going to do the other two. Well, I'm running into a problem right now. So 22 ohms seems to be about right, resistance-wise. So we're seeing about equivalent to about 4.9 volts on the fan. The fan's running fine. It's very quiet. I can't hear it too well, even if it's pretty close to my face. The problem is the temperature of this resistor. So it hasn't started smoking yet, but if I look through a thermal camera, I don't know if I can exactly pinpoint it, but it's probably... yeah, I'm getting greater than 150 C. Which you don't want a resistor running at, especially next to plastic. That's bad. So, now my next best idea is to find a combination of resistors that will give me the same effect as this 22 ohm one. So, probably going to try running two 50s in parallel. So now we have two 51 ohm resistors in parallel. I'm getting about the results I want. It's pretty darn quiet. If I put the camera right next to it, it's pretty tolerable. We'll see how it actually is, and we're getting equivalent of 4.6 volts on the fan, which is about right. And the temperature is hot, but fine. So we're going to solder these in and just plug this one fan in and see how it goes. And now this cable's ready, so it's slightly higher resistance. I think a total of around 34 ohms. And here it goes. It takes a while to spin it up and it sounds weird when it does. And I think it's about fine. Now the fan fault LED is still on, which means it's probably under its minimum speed. And it's definitely not silent, but when I go shove the top on it, it's in the more than tolerable range of noise. That's not a bad noise level right now. That's definitely fine for me to sit in the same room all day with. Hearing, I don't have to worry about hearing. That's not bad. I mean, it's not like silent, but it's like loud desktop loud, not like loud server loud. Let's do this the exact same config to the other two fans, and then we'll tape up the connectors so nothing can short out. So that's the end of the modding. It works well, it's quieter, temperatures are fine. This mod and just kind of general idea should work on a lot of other systems as well. Be careful, make sure you kind of know what you're doing before you start cutting wires and soldering stuff into these systems, but it should work well. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more server videos and stuff like this in the future.